What's up, everybody? Jeremy Weiss here with Weiss Tech Hockey, and I'm really excited to be introducing a brand new product from Hockey Shot. This is Hockey Shot's Extreme Glide Synthetic Ice Panels. Now, what I'm going to do is actually break this video up into two videos. So the first video, I'm going to show you the panels, show you how to install them, and kind of go through the whole process for me of laying them out, installing them, making sure they fit, everything else. And then the second video, I'm going to come back and actually show you how they work and how to use them. These are awesome panels. You can skate on them, and I'm really excited to be having these in my basement. So let's get straight to it. What I'm going to do is take off the I'm going to take off the camera from the tripod and hold it and kind of walk you through everything that I'm doing, everything I'm going to do, and then we'll go ahead and show you the installation process. All right, here we go. So these are the panels. As you can see, they're huge. These there's two sizes. There's the 4x4, and those weigh about 41 pounds. And then there's the 4x8, so double the size or double the length. And these weigh, I guess, about 82 pounds each. I've got a stack of them here, and we're going to be going through these. I had them out in my garage, so they look a little bit dirty just because we had a big windstorm and a bunch of the dirt from my garden blew under the door into the garage. So we'll clean those up before we skate on them. But they also come in 3 different thicknesses, and I'm going to kind of get on the side here so you can see the thickness. These are the most popular thickness. They're the 1/2-inch panels, and these are going to be great. They last about 7 to 10 years per side for regular residential use. So that's like if you're using it in your house, just you and your family or your friends, because I'm sure they'll want to come over and use these too. Or 5 to 7 years if you're using like a commercial facility type thing. So they're going to last a long time. And then you've got, so these are the most popular ones. You've got your 3/8, which is a little bit more economical. They don't last quite as long, but they do still last a good amount of time. And then you've also got your 3/4 inch. So this is, 3/4 inch would be for like super heavy commercial use. So that's kind of your 3 options. And those are what the tiles look like. Now, as you can see, this used to be kind of where we had everything set up. And I've gone ahead and cleaned, picked everything up off the floor. We want to have a nice clean area to lay them down on, swept the floor. We rolled up the sport, what's it called again? Sports screen. Sorry, losing my train of thought here. Too many different products to talk about. And then also we rolled up the shooting tarp, the Hockey Shot shooting tarp. So get everything up off the floor, got a nice clean area to set it down on. Now there is an optional rubber underlay that you can use if you want to, but for this, our floor is pretty flat. And it's really an optional thing anyway, so we're not going to use it in this installation. But you can use it. That would help you kind of preserve the back side of your tiles if you're concerned about that. But yeah, we can talk. I'll go through a little bit more some of the frequently asked questions as we go through this. But this is kind of the setup that we're doing. So that's it. And now I'm going to go ahead and start putting these together. All right, so one thing I should mention just before we kind of get started here is a couple of things you're going to want to have. The tiles are pretty slick, and the edges are actually fairly sharp. It's a good thing for performance. Obviously, you want them as thick as slick as possible, but they are a little bit difficult to grip. And since the edges are kind of sharp, I recommend wearing some gardening gloves. And then also, you need a rubber mallet. So you can get a rubber mallet, or if you have a metal mallet, then put a 2x4 on top of it, so you're not banging a metal mallet on your tiles. It's kind of common sense, but just figured I'd mention it. Those are kind of the 2 things you're going to want. What I'm going to do here, as you can see, I've got the camera set up so we can see the process here. But what I'm going to do is lay out the tiles in the middle. The panels are going to be in the middle, and then we'll figure out, because I want to trim up exactly up to these edges as much as I can. So, kind of the back walls, get it as flush as possible. So I'm going to set them out in the middle, kind of put them together a little bit, but then we're going to figure out what we're going to do with those edges. And then if you do want to do this flush fit like what I'm going to do, you're going to need a table saw. So table saw, maybe a skill saw. So I've borrowed my father-in-law's table saw, and we should be able to make that work. So that's it, and I'm going to go ahead and start setting these up. Alright, so as you can see, we're about 5 tiles in, and it goes pretty fast just because it's got that dovetail linking system. Really straightforward. One thing I want to point out is you can see you've got the one end that's got the little bit of a different looking kind of puzzle looking type of thing. Make sure all your tiles are facing the same way. So yeah, if not, they're not going to link together properly in the joints. And so you want it looking, let's see if I can make this work. You want it coming together about like this. Lost one of my lights, so this should be all right. There it is. Okay. In the middle, you can see the joint looks like this. And I'm not worried about getting like a super flat joint at this point. I'm just trying to get it all together. But eventually, you know, like when you have a little gap, or not a gap, but a little lip, just tap that with a hammer and it goes right flat. And I'm really excited. These are looking really good so far. So that's what you want to do. Like I said, a couple tips. Just make sure they're all facing the same direction. And when you're tapping one in, I don't know if you noticed on the video, but starting from like a middle joint and then working out is a lot more difficult. I tried it a couple times there. A lot more difficult than starting like at an end joint and working towards the middle joint. So I find that like when you start towards the end, at the end joint, as you're tapping them in, they all line themselves up, and then by the time you get to that middle joint, where see like this middle joint's having to line up a bunch of different pieces all at the same time and fit them all together. So when you're doing that, it's kind of hard to get them all lined up. But if you do it starting from the outer edge and then work your way towards the middle joint, then it seemed to have gone easier. By the time I got to the middle joint, they were all kind of lined up. All right, so it's actually a couple days later, and I did a slight change of plans here. I decided I didn't want to do it the exact way I had laid it out before. So what I've done is I've got the 8 tiles, or the 8 panels set up, and what we did was push it actually flush against the wall on this side, these two sides, because when we lower the sports screen and the shooting tarp down, that'll cover those edges anyways. And so then what we're going to do is just cut these tiles. I think it'll be a pretty easy job to do. And if I can get this thing to focus here, we'll just cut them and then lay them down on this side and then see what we can do over here. We'll kind of figure it out as we go, but that's the plan. And got my buddy Fuller here to help me out with this one. Glad you could make an appearance, buddy.
I appreciate it. I'm a little surprised you actually picked up on it. I'm not scared of...
I was a framer for like a year, dude, remember?
I'm not scared of just any old saw. I'm just scared of this saw.
Dude, table saw. You should be more scared of like a skill saw.
Yeah, but dude, this is like tippy. Tipsy.
You know worse than tippy? It would be tipsy.
Yeah.
I managed to use both in the span of 3 seconds.
Alright, here we go. You ready for this?
I've been waiting my whole life.
Okay, so the install is done, and I just want to kind of show you the final product. I've already swept it. I'm still going to mop it just to get some of that dirt. You know, like I said, we had a big windstorm right after I put them in the garage, so a bunch of the tiles got dirty, and I just want to make sure it's really clean. So I swept off most of the dirt. You know, from the installation. You know, when you throw these tiles down, it kicks up a lot of dust, depending on how clean your basement or garage is. But here's what I decided to do. So I know at the beginning we kind of talked about going, you know, like the flush installation. But what I decided was I wanted to maximize the actual area where I could skate on. So if I was going to come right up flush against these studs, then I would have had to waste more tiles. So instead what I did was I came out and I figured, you know, I'm not going to be skating right up against the wall anyways. So I cut the 4x4 tiles in half, and I think I already showed you that a little bit earlier, but cut those in half so they come up to about, I guess, about a foot away from those studs, which is fine because, like I said, that's not really usable skating space anyways. But by doing that, I only used 2 of the 4x4s instead of having to use 4 of them to get, you know, that right up flush next to the studs. So what that was able to let me do then is take and add additional space over here. And I was going to do the same thing. Like I was going to come right up against these studs. I'll kind of point with my foot. I was going to come right up against these ones. So as you can see, I've got the table saw there, but I was planning on coming, you know, a little bit closer there. But then at the same time, I'm like, how often am I going to be skating right over, you know, next to the wood? So instead, I opted to use these tiles in this area instead. So I've got an extra, I don't even know what that is, 4, 1, 2, 3, about 15 feet of extra skating space. So 15 by 8. So about 15 by 8 feet of extra skating space in this area. Now, because like I said, it was a question of, do I want it to be perfectly up against the wall, or do I want to give myself some more skating space? So that's what we did. So we took and threw down one more. Man, my camera's having a hard time focusing here. Sorry, guys. It's because it's all white. It doesn't really know what it's supposed to be focusing on. So I'll try to keep some of the edge in so they can stay focused. So I threw down an extra 2 4x8s here instead of, you know, piecing stuff together to make them right up against the wall. And then I combined up 2 4x4s. Again, it's hard to see, but this one is a 4x4, 2 4x4s together. And then I had one last 4x4, so I ripped that one in half and comboed it up to make the end piece there. So that gives me a lot of extra skating space. I mean, this area right here would be fantastic for my kids, but obviously for me, I'd just be kind of turning circles. But now with this extra skating space, I can actually, you know, use this a little bit myself and get a little bit more speed going, and then you'll be able to use some drills and stuff, and I'll be able to shoot from out here too. So really cool. I'm going to mop it now, and then that'll be it for the install. So that's the entire installation process. And remember, I'm going to be doing another video that's going to actually review the product. I can tell you this much though, I've skated on it a little bit and it's a lot of fun. This is a great product. But we'll be back with another video with a full review of, you know, everything to do with actually using the Extreme Glide synthetic ice panels. Installation though, as far as installation goes, it took probably about 3 hours total. You know, from start to finish to get these tiles moved into place, you know, linked in together, cut and assembled. So, you know, and really the assembly itself probably took, I'd say probably 30 to 40 minutes. You can see in the video it's pretty fast. Really the most difficult part about this is moving the tiles. They're pretty heavy. So make sure you get a friend, somebody to help you move them. And definitely if you're going to be cutting them yourself, you know, make sure you get somebody to help you with, you know, with cutting, because like I said, they are pretty big, and you know, even if you can manage the weight, it's an awkward, you know, an awkward size. They're pretty big. So get a friend and it makes it a lot easier. As far as picking these up, they're available at hockeyshot.com, but this is a little bit of a different product. I'll put the link directly to this in the description of this video. A little bit different product because of the nature of the product. You're going to actually have to submit a quote. So basically what they want you to do is submit your layout, what your floor plan looks like. You know, I don't know exactly how much information they're going to need from you, but basically they're going to want to consult with you a little bit before you just go ahead and order these, because what they want is they want for this to be the best possible experience for you. And so they're going to make sure that they give you, you know, some guidelines and stuff on which tiles to pick up, you know, because there are 2 sizes. There's the 4x8s, the big ones, and then there's the halfers, which is the 4x4. And so they'll make sure you have the right number of each of the tiles that you need, and give you some tips on installation and stuff like that, just so that it's the best possible experience. This is a great product, and I have skated on it a little bit, and like I said, we'll be doing that video next. But it's a blast. It's a lot of fun, really high quality product. And so we'll address some more of that stuff in the next video. But check out the link. They've also got a really good Q&A section there with, I know I had a few questions when I was getting ready to put these in, and that Q&A section goes through just piece by piece and answers every question that you may have. So we'll probably go through some of that in the next video as well. But if you can't wait, just go check out the link, and you can check out the Q&A section on hockeyshot.com. So once again, fantastic product. I'm really happy with it so far. And the installation really was pretty straightforward. It took, like I said, probably about 3 hours total, and that's moving them in from the garage downstairs, assembling them, cutting them, and then putting it all together, and the cleanup as well. So it's a pretty straightforward process, and definitely one that wasn't too bad. So that's it for this video, and we'll see you again in the next one.
You're